Welcome to the first episode of Dynamite Delight Review. Instead of just calling AEW Dynamite, I thought I'd throw a little bit more into the mix and call it Dynamite Delight because it is a delight to watch this compared to WWE currently. Excuse me. I got a head cold, so if I sound really congested, I'm sorry. I got it all here. The weather changed. I got sick. There you go. Let's make this very quick. Clear and to the point. Should you watch this show? Yes. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure many of you have. You should watch it. It's a good show. It's not really much more than what we got last week. They just built on top of what they had and kind of repeated a little bit of what they did. At the end of the show, they just added a little bit extra. The opening of the show. You got a good vid pack talking about the Young Bucks as well as Private Party. And then you have the match of Private Party in the preliminaries for the AEW Tag Championship. It was a good match, but I gotta say this about Private Party. After seeing them for the first time really wrestle, there are two problems with them. They don't look credible yet. They're a young team, so I think they need a little bit more time to work out the kinks in their ring attire. And when it comes to their work rate, I don't think it's bad. But I do believe they need a little more polish. Now, they came directly from House of Glory Developmental. Well, House of Glory. They're kind of like a developmental school, but they are a promotion on their own. They've earned their right to be considered a promotion if they are a developmental one. And I think they look good, but they're still not totally polished yet. They seem a bit too young. Like they're in their early years. They have not hit their prime yet. So it's obvious in their ring work, not saying it's bad, but it's obvious that they're still very young and they need to work out the kinks. But surprisingly, the Young Bucks did not win here. They lost. That was a surprise to me. I didn't expect the Young Bucks to lose. So it is a good thing to see the Young Bucks are not going to continue. Unless there's some type of wild card rule in, and I hate saying that, in this tournament so they can get back in, which I don't think there is, because they stated very clearly in commentary, and I gotta say this about commentary, the guy, I can't remember, Smithman or something's name, I didn't get a chance to see a lot of WCW, so I never got a chance to see him work with Jim Ross when WCW was still existing. I'm about to say AEW. I really am kind of sick. But seeing him, well, hearing him more than seeing him, he sounds good. But it still kind of feels like a little awkward to me personally. Maybe it's due to the fact this is only the second time I heard him. I really do believe he needs to grow on me. You still got Excalibur, who sounds decent, and so does Jim Ross. So, as a commentary team, it's not too bad. And this match was not too bad either. Now, we got one of the two highlights of the night. We got Y2J, Chris Jericho, bringing out his new crew. And that's with Santana, Ortiz, Sammy, Gargano, I can't even pronounce the guy's name, Garva, or Garva. I'm just calling him Garva, or just Sammy. Like I said the last time, I should just call him Sammy. The kid, his name is Sammy. And you got Jack Hager. Now, Jack didn't say anything, it was stone-faced. It was all about Chris Jericho putting them all over, putting over the kid, putting over Santana Ortiz, who really needed it because they did not get much of a reaction last week. They just didn't. They got almost no to very little reaction. I do believe because Conan's not with them and not considered LAX, they just seem a bit lackluster. But having this faction now, which is kind of a generic name, the Inner Circle, but I do believe it'll work itself out. I do believe Chris Jericho is going to make the Inner Circle mean something. And the thing that got me, that I do enjoy, that they're doing, they're not bleeping out any language. Chris Jericho said throughout the night, shit and bitch. Shit and bitch. They did not bleep shit. I'm glad they didn't do that. If they want to differentiate themselves from WWE, or Impact Wrestling for that matter, they're going to have to be something entirely different. So they decide to be a bit more edgier, and they're going to leave in curse words. This is not meant for little kids to show. This is meant for full-grown adults that want something entirely different than what they've been getting. This is what you got. You got Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin. Now, I got to say this about Darby Allin. I do like him. I'm not saying that he's really unique, because I have seen in the indies several people similar to himself. But I will say this. There is something about him I do like. Maybe it's due to the fact that he's willing to do basically a coffin dive onto somebody or onto anything. That might be it. He needs to do some promos. He needs to do some backstage segments. He needs to do some vignettes. At least one or two of them. Kind of like what happened with Private Party. And it should not be on the YouTube channel All Elite now has AEW Dark. Now, I'm not saying that should be totally disregarded. I'm going to be watching it when I get a chance if I don't forget. It's just there's so many things that's going on with me. So it's good to see that they have that you can get to see the dark matches that you normally would not see. So you can get more content, maybe some more interviews, maybe some more promo segments. But if you're keeping him on the main roster, he must, and I repeat, must have something to say. Once in a while he's got to say something. Once in a while he's got to be interviewed. Once in a while he's got to be something. So I will say there was very little interviews here on this show. There was only one. But the point is that I think they still need some work, particularly during the Havoc and Allen match. It was, I think, Excalibur that was talking. No, it was Jim Ross who was talking about, let's see the replay. And there was no replay. It was just nothing. I think they didn't even cue it up. This shows they really need to start working out these kinks. Yes, it's a second show. And the next couple of months, they will be working these kinks out. And I'm not going to bash them heavily for this. This is a new product being shown on a national and international show. They're now showing this in the UK on the Fight Network app. So this is not something to joke around with. But I do expect after at least 4 or 5 months, they better have most or almost all the kinks out. Of course, there's going to be some problems. You never can get rid of them all. But in general, things like that should not happen. The commentators should not say, hey, let's look at the replay and there's no replay. And they say, oh, well, we don't have a replay. That cannot happen. Also, transitions were a little messed up as well for Darby Allin. He got transitioned out. Or was it Jon Moxley? I can't remember. It's one of the two. And since I just talked about them, Jon Moxley versus Shawn Spears was the best match of the night for me personally. Now, here's the thing. You got Tully Blanchard there, which is great. He interfered a couple of times. He had problems with it. It was great to see. But this is the thing I liked the most about the match. When it came to Jon Moxley, one of the things I worried about, like most wrestlers that left the WWE that was very complacent and compliant, either they got rejected and just thrown away, or they got pretty pissed off and they just left. And in his case, him leaving, you would think, is he going to have a different ring work? Now, I saw him in New Japan, and he did have a different ring work, but I was hoping that would be different continuing here in AEW, and it was. His ring work was good. Totally different what we see in the WWE, and I'm so glad. And he did not sell Shawn Spears moves all the time. He no-sold a lot of his moves, especially the chops to the chest. His chest was bright beet red, and he didn't sell most of it, almost all of it. In the end, he did win, which I had no problem with. But question's going to be how far they're going to go with him, how far they're going to go with Omega, because he did come out at the end with a barbed wire broom and a barbed wire bat. Threw the bat over to Moxley and say, come on, let's go. And the question is going to be how far they're going to be pushing Pac. Because he was on commentary being very disgruntled, pretty much saying, how come I'm a guy who had 2 years of not losing. Only got pinned once in 2 years. I had won championships everywhere. But why am I not getting pushed in the main title scene? So he pretty much, at the end of the match, when Kenny Omega, the Ken himself, the cleaner, is going up to Moxley, he pretty much blindsides him, and I think it was a steel chair. He blindsides him, and Moxley did not like it. Points the barbed wire bat at him. Say, hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? Which is fine. The question is going to be, what are they going to do with Moxley? What are they going to do with Pac? And what are they going to do with Kenny Omega? I don't expect them to have a some type of triangle thing. It's still going to be Moxley. It's still going to be Omega. But where does Pac going to fit in? That's going to be a question. All right, the women's tag match. I wasn't too fond of it. Here's the thing about this. I've seen women's tag match in the WWE so many times, it has made me numb to it. But here, I'm not saying I'm numb to it, but I do not understand why. Why? This was not a wise thing to do. You put Dr. Britt Baker with Rio, along with Sakura and what is her name? Beth Priestley. You put all four of these women together. I think what it would have been better is that maybe Rio went up against Priestley. Rio went up against Priestley, and you got Baker as well as Sakura at ringside. That would have been better. And then some type of interference or some type of fight or something. Have all four of the women in there does not really give the crowd enough. Look, we're dealing with two Japanese wrestlers, and I believe one European wrestler and I think Beth Priestley is European. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. And the only one that's there is Baker. She's the most well-known of all four of them. And I think that you need to build these women up. If Sakura's been signed and Priestley has been signed, you got to do something with them. And I know you're going to probably see something on AEW Dark, but it got to also be on the main show. You should have done some video packages for these women. I just don't think they did a good enough of a job. Doesn't mean the match was bad. It wasn't a bad match. In the end, it was the faces who won. And then you got Baker as well as Priestley fighting each other afterward, and you see Real and the ref trying to separate the women. The question is going to be, how far are they going to go with this? Now, Baker's going to be facing Rio next week. And I want to say this for the record. I am still not right about Nia Rose not winning that title. I'm not against Rio. I'm not. I think I pronounced her name right this time. I'm not against her. I like her. But I do not believe this was the right time for her. It should have been Nia Rose. Should have waited about a year for Rio to actually go up against her. Build up a lot of credibility going through all the women that you got to bring in to make the division mean something. Because as it stands right now, how many women you got? You got Awesome Kong. You got Rose. You got Rio. You got Priestley. You got Baker. You got Sakura. Who else do you have next to Brandy? There's not that many women to work in the division. They need more people. It just felt like they need to build up into it and leave one of the biggest monsters they got. One of the two big ones there. Okay. Finally, the Hangman and Dusty versus the Y2J and Sammy match. It felt like a repeat from last week. It did. It's just now instead of 3, it's now, instead of a 6-man tag, it's a regular tag. It wasn't a bad match. I was not against it. Hager was there, which made sense because he is Y2J's muscle. Didn't do much during the match. Only near the end did he actually interfere and help Y2J to actually win the match. And then the beatdown happened. Then you have MJF come out along with Cody. Cody came out first. He tried to stop the beatdown. He got nailed. And then MJF comes out with a steel chair. And everyone's wondering, is he going to be heel? Is he going to be face? Is he going to be on the side of Cody? Or is he going to turn heel? And he chooses to stay face. Which is alright for now. But eventually he's got to go heel. Because I'm not saying he can't be a heel. I mean a face. He probably could get away with it. Particularly that he's still acting the way he is. He cares about his friend, but he's still acting as a heel. Now, that could be a double-edged sword, and I'd rather not see that with MJF. I'd rather see him just total heel. Flat-out heel. But as it stands for the moment, since this is... Sorry, I'm really tired. Took some medicine. This is still very early for the company. This is only the second show, and we really need to give this time to develop. I'm hoping it'll develop right. As it stands, And I know there's more, especially that Y2J got attacked by Darby after the beatdown was done, once the rest of the Inner Circle comes out. I'm not covering that right now. It's just about what you will see. Generally speaking, Dynamite this episode was good. It wasn't spectacular. I could say that it was a solid show. Not going to say it's an exceptional show. So it's a possibility that you might actually have NXT a little bit more than it. Maybe. People may say NXT was a superior show. So I'll say it like this. AEW Dynamite was good. It was a solid show. But it didn't really do anything spectacular. It gave us some good matches. Except for the women's match. I truly believe they could have done something different. But in general, the tag match for the tournament was good. Moxley and Spears was good. The tag match with the men were good. Was kind of a repeat from last week. It's just now it's 2 instead of 6. 4 instead of 6. This is what you got. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.